Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Micah and today we are back in PwnedLabs and we are doing the loot exchange teams in SharePoint with GraphRunner. And this is a beginner red team lab, and the scenario is we're basically on an engagement. We've fished a user for their credentials and we kind of reached a dead end in our engagement. And of course we've been tasked with proceeding and unlocking further access. So we have the entire on-prem and cloud infrastructure in scope, and our ultimate goal is to gain access to customer records and demonstrate impact. So some prereqs are basic Windows command line knowledge. Learning outcomes are using MFASweep to identify Microsoft services where MFA has not been enabled, using GraphRunner to exfiltrate data from SharePoint teams and Exchange Online, and moving laterally and pillaging data from Azure SQL database. So again, this is beginner red team focus and for real world context. So Azure and Microsoft are very widely used as organizations look to adopt hybrid cloud architectures and move from on-prem. It's critical that companies keep security in mind. One of the biggest attack vectors for cloud architecture is security misconfigurations, or just misconfigurations in general. And again, it's very important that companies as well as individuals keep security in mind as they're migrating to the cloud or doing these like hybrid environments. And luckily for us, this environment has been configured incorrectly, and we're going to be able to abuse that here shortly using GraphRunner, obviously. All right, so the first step is using MFASweep to figure out which services do not have MFA enabled. And so that will allow us to move laterally throughout the environment, and we can achieve this by using MFASweep. It's a PowerShell script, and we can pass the PowerShell script through invoke expression without having to actually download the script from the GitHub repo. And best practice is to not use this, I believe, because it passes the string to PowerShell as a command, so it runs it automatically. And obviously that's not a best practice or a good thing to do, if you don't trust the code, but in this case we do. So let's go ahead and run this. Actually, before we do, we want to go ahead and disable Defender, or what you call it, virus and threat protection, and just disable real-time protection like I've already done. And then we're going to open PowerShell. I have Windows Terminal installed, and you can switch between the different Windows shell options if you so choose. But we're going to use PowerShell, and then we're going to go ahead and run that MFASweep script. All right, cool. So now we have that done, and we can use invoke MFASweep within PowerShell now. And we're going to replace this password holder, temporary holder, with the actual password, which I have written down here in my notepad, text document. So let's go ahead and run that. And let's go ahead and hit yes. It's saying that ADFS does not appear to be in use. So it's interesting. So this script is about to attempt logging into this UPN 10 different times, 11 if you include ADFS. And if you enter an incorrect password, this may lock the account out. So this will definitely be something that's noisy or risky to use inside of a real world environment. But let's go ahead and run this. Hit Y for yes. And then you can see it's enumerating all these different services. And we see a few success, mostly failed. And okay, cool. So we see Microsoft Graph API has single factor, no multi-factor, which is again good for us because we'll be wanting to exploit that here in a second. So I believe the next step is enumerating the account using PowerShell, the PowerShell commandlet. I forget what it's called, but it's in here somewhere. And we're trying to figure out what services or what licenses are assigned to this user, and we're just ensuring that they have Microsoft 365 because that gives us an additional thing that we can enumerate and exploit. So if we try to use this connect Azure AD commandlet or module, we'll quickly learn that this is being deprecated, and in lieu of using the deprecated PowerShell module, we can install and use Azure Active Directory PowerShell for Graph. And it's pretty simple to get started. If we just Google install PowerShell for Graph, it brings us to this page, and we actually not this page. Where is it? Where is it? This page. This is connecting, installing. Okay, here's the installation page. So basically we just set our execution policy to remote signed and then scope to current user. So we can go ahead and do that. And then we will install the Microsoft Graph module. All right, so I already installed it because it took absolutely forever. So just be patient and be ready to wait for a bit, because like I said, it took forever. But okay, now that that's installed, we can actually connect to Azure AD using the PowerShell module, the new PowerShell Graph. What's it called? Graph PowerShell. Naming is terrible. Microsoft Graph PowerShell SDK. So we can connect to that now that we've installed it, and the command is somewhere here. I don't know what this is, honestly. Okay, yeah, I just Googled connect to MS Graph PowerShell, and it was I believe this one. Yeah, exactly. So to connect, we need this the scope or the permission scopes for the command that we are trying to run. So the command that we're trying to run is this get Azure AD user license detail, and if we Google it, we learned that it's deprecated and that it has been replaced with this commandlet here. So get Microsoft Graph user license detail, and we can see the least privileged permissions to be able to use this module or commandlet is user.read, and our example here has user.read.all, so we'll just remove the all part, and then it should prompt us to log in, and let's just get I'm already connected. So basically a prompt will show up, and then you just enter the UPN and the password of the compromised user, and then you'll get this page here. All right, so let's go back to PwnedLabs, and so almost each one of these you have to search through the API reference to get these parameters. And so they've changed, let's see, they've changed it to, just for sake of time, so let's do side by side just so you can see the similarities between them. Where'd you go? Here we go. So get Azure AD user license detail is now get MG user license detail. You know, big change there. And then I'm specifying instead of object ID, I'm using user ID because I'm not getting an object. Like, this is getting the Azure AD user object as an object ID. I'm just using this user ID parameter and then specifying the UPN, and then selecting an object from this user ID, which is service plans, and then I'm expanding the property. So this should output something similar to this. Awesome. So let's make this a bit bigger. Let's run that again so we can get the full screen. And we can see several Microsoft 365 services or service plans. And so we can pretty safely assume that this user has a Microsoft 365 service plan or license attached to their account. So we see like Exchange, SharePoint, Power Apps. Yeah, so yeah, cool. All right, so now for the main star of the show, we're going to be using GraphRunner again to enumerate and exfiltrate data from Microsoft services. And let's go ahead and execute this script in our terminal. And this is by Bo Bullock of Black Hills Information Security, and there's an excellent video that's linked in this page from Black Hills about the toolset and what it can do, some of its functionality, how it works. And if you're interested, I highly recommend that you watch it. It's about an hour long and it's really engaging. So definitely check that out. So we can see some of the GraphRunner modules. So you can do things like we can authenticate as a user, and this tool uses access tokens to allow us to do different things in it. We have this invoke graph recon. We can dump conditional access policies. We can get just all kind of information from or using the Graph API. Like we can locate and read shared inboxes. We can dump directory sync settings. We can get tenant-wide user settings. So like, can users create apps? Can they consent to applications? And that is relevant for like OAuth abuse. We can brute force user actions, and there's an API that Bo uncovered while doing his research. And just watch the video, but it allows you to brute force user actions and to see like every permission or action that the user is enabled or allowed to do, and it's really interesting. So let's go ahead and get a session with the Graph API. So we're going to authenticate, and we're going to get an access token, and this access token will be saved to an environment variable that we'll use repeatedly as we're querying the API. So let's go ahead and enter UPN and password. We authenticated, and we can see like permission scopes. We see just different information about the app that we're authenticating to, which is Microsoft Office or Microsoft 365 now, whatever name they've chosen. So successful authentication. We can see the access and refresh tokens have been written to a global tokens variable, and to use them it gives an example, and PwnedLabs gives several examples for us, thankfully. So let's go ahead, and we're going to be searching for the term password within SharePoint and OneDrive, and then we're specifying the token environment variable as we talked about just a few seconds ago. So let's copy and paste this into our terminal, and you see it says using the provided access tokens, and then we found one match for the search term password. And do you want to download any of these files? Let's hit yes, and the result number is here at the top for this finance logins doc. Hit 0, and so it's now downloading. Do we want to download any more files? No. So we can actually let's do that again, and let's do downloads or desktop. All right, so let's navigate to our desktop, or to my desktop, and we see we have this finance logins document, and it just contains a bunch of unencrypted, plain text passwords within this text or document or Word document. And this is obviously very, very bad practice of keeping your very sensitive secrets unencrypted and just out there for anybody to grab. So let's just keep this in the back of our minds as we continue to enumerate the services. So next is using the searching for the term bonus within SharePoint and OneDrive. And we found another file. And so we have an Excel file, XLSX file, and I don't have Excel installed, but I believe we can use the user and their credentials to actually access Excel on the web. So let's log in as Clara Miller, enter the password, and we have this bonuses confidentials file, which belongs to Sam Olson. And so this file is password protected. Let's see if we have the password for this file. Finance database, service accounting software, expense. What was the name of this file? Bonuses. I mean, we could try all of these one by one, but I'm not going to. So we'll just keep that in the back of our mind. Let's continue to enumerate and exfiltrate. So we can download the file and open it in Google Sheets, but it's password protected. And I don't believe we'll find that password. I'm not sure. So we can actually look for the term password within Teams. So maybe we will. So we're just dumping we're searching throughout all of the chat messages within our Teams group for the term password. So we see this first one. We have a password, openme123. Let's go ahead and try that. That makes sense to me. Oh, nice. So we have some bonuses, and this is obviously sensitive information. You don't want anybody knowing how much you're making your bonuses, right? Jeez, $35,000 is insane for a bonus. 0? Jeez. Feel bad for them when your coworkers are making $35,000. They could at least throw you like a bone, man. Sheesh. All right, but all right, cool. Yeah, so yeah, we got into the document, and now let's search mailboxes. So we're looking for the term password, and I'm not sure what message count does. Let's figure that out. Oops. Is there like a help? Oops, if I can spell help. I'm curious, man. Message count. What is this, GraphRunner? Message count, and let's go into the PowerShell script. Really cool logo based on Blade Runner, it looks like, and I forgot the name of it again. Message count. So message count, the amount of messages returned in the search results. Hopefully you can see that. Oops. So it's just basically limiting or expanding the amount of messages returned in our search results. Cool. So let's go ahead and run that command. And then we have a subject subscribers database, and we have a username. Whoops. Username, and then we have a password. Cool. And then we have a server endpoint here. And we even have the name of the database, it looks like, or yeah, the name of the database, which is Finance Clara, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's just finance, and it looks like it's cut off for some reason. So no, we don't need to download this because we have the URL or the endpoint destination location of the database, and since it's an Azure service, it should be accessible over the internet. Well, hope it should not be, but in this case it will be, because again, this environment has been misconfigured. So I think the easiest way to do this will be to use VS Code, and there is an extension called, so we could do this manually. You just define a connection within PowerShell, pass it the password, define the connection. So the database endpoint URL, location, whatever, database, I'll just call finance, and then the user ID and passwords, and we can see what tables there are. So this base table, or table type base table, it just contains metadata, I believe, about the tables within the database. And so then we create this new object, SQL data adapter, and another object, dataset. And this SQL data adapter basically acts as a bridge between the dataset and SQL Server for retrieving and saving data. Dataset is pretty much self-explanatory. And so then we're filling this SQL data adapter with the data from the dataset, and then we're suppressing the output. So we just want this tables property to be returned, and then we see basically it dumps all the tables from this from the database, and it is just this finance table, which we've already figured out from the email. And then we can connect, but we're going to be doing it the easy way, the lazy way, I guess. So we're going to install SQL Server, and let's go here to extensions, SQL install. All right, cool. So that's installed. All right, so small update. Last night when I was doing this room, I could not get connected to the Azure SQL database. However, I was forgetting to connect to the VPN of PwnedLabs. So you just go here, hit download VPN. It provides you with an OpenVPN file, and then you want to download OpenVPN, the client, and you want to go here to import profile at the top, upload file, browse to the file you just downloaded, and then select it, upload it, and then hit connect. And for this to work, you may have to open a outbound port on your firewall if you have that kind of setup, and it's UDP port 1194. So let's go ahead and try to connect to the database with our newfound connection. And so MS SQL add connection, we have the server name here, just MBT finance database.windows.net, the database name is finance. And then we have a SQL login. So we have the finance reports user and the password. And we can save our password, and it's asking to enter a display name for this connection profile. I'm just going to put pwned. So hopefully this works. All right, awesome. And it looks like we're connected. Oh, here we go. So the SQL server here, there's a little icon on the left, the name of the profile that I created earlier, hit new query. And then, so we're selecting everything from this information schema tables where table type has that base table type, and then we're executing the command. So let's go ahead and try to do that now. All right, cool. So table named finance is returned, or table named subscribers is returned, and you can see the base table type, table name, the table schema, and then from here we want to select everything from that table and just dump it to our console. So select everything from subscribers, the table called subscribers, and then execute the command. And boom, look at that. We have a bunch of credit card information. We have subscriber ID, some CVV data, the full name, birth date. I mean, this is pretty bad. And as far as breaches go, and we should have a flag here. I'm gonna try to hide it so that, you know. Okay, cool. So it's hidden down here, but yeah, we have the flag that we were looking for, and there's nothing left for us to do. So we've completed this room. We can enter this flag into the PwnedLabs console here at the top, and then we should be able to complete this room. And so hopefully you've enjoyed watching me fumble through this room, and we have some takeaways from a defense standpoint. So like the first issue was a lack of MFA, and we were allowed to enumerate license details across various services, including Teams, email, SharePoint, OneDrive, and there were plain text credentials literally everywhere. And this is of course a very bad practice to have. We found financial data. We were able to get into a SQL database. This SQL database is currently accessible to the entire internet, which is obviously a bad thing. This can increase the risk of someone successfully brute forcing the database login details or gaining credentials, exploiting the server, whatever it may be. So just some takeaways, and yeah, that's it for the video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. It helps out the channel immensely. And again, that's it for now. We'll see you on the next one.